Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Fans from the Stands, season four. 4 seasons, Ivan.
4 years.
Yeah, can you believe we start? I actually saw a Facebook memories thing on Facebook. It said, "Come listen to our first podcast." And it was like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 4 years already.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But this time of year is the best time of year because
Spring training. Can't can't wait
no,
for the
not
season to start.
yeah, it's not Christmas. It's we're back to baseball. Enough of this like talking about free agents. Enough about speculating. It's here. We're in spring training. It's nice to watch the games. I know you watched the first two games. I've watched the first two games of spring training. It's nice to see the warm weather and the grass and the guys getting back at it.
Yeah.
Um, it's good. But we have a few things we're going to talk about in this podcast about the Jays, especially, obviously. Um,
Well, our last episode was in December, and
right.
we were kind of waiting for the Jays to do something, which kind of never came. Um,
We're still kind of well. They signed they
Justin
signed one
Turner.
player,
Yeah.
Justin Turner. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's
And then
uh,
we're like, okay, let's see. Bellinger. Nope.
yeah. So the Jays have um kind of not done much, right? Like we're since December we've signed one player. We've kind of waited. Like, it's like we're just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. And we're getting pretty late now. Like we're in spring training.
It's
So what do we have in
okay.
store for today's episode?
All right, even better. Well, we're going to talk a lot. I'm trying to find. I mean, Ivan had planned this out. I'm trying to find my text to you, but what we're going to talk about. Um, so Justin Turner's signing is one. The past two games we've watched. Hopefully, it's not a sign of things to come. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Um, Hyunjin, and this is the first time I've found this out. It's not Ryu, it's Lu.
Oh,
Hyunjin, it's pronounced Lu, as in Lu.
oh,
So I guess we've been pronouncing Hyunjin Ryu Lu's name wrong for the past how many years? 4 years, 5 years.
yeah.
He's retired, but yeah. So did you find what we're going to talk about? Oh,
Actually,
I
no.
got it
But yeah,
here.
he's retired from the MLB, but he's playing in the KBO.
Yeah. Yeah. We got. Sorry, I found it. Here we go. We're talking about JT signing, potential roster moves, spring training, games to date, and then we're gonna our around the horn. We're going to talk about those jerseys,
His jerseys and pants.
jerseys and pants. Unsigned Boris Plants, Manfred, a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So let's kick it off with Justin Turner signing. So
Okay.
the Jays got I want to say their DH, third baseman, first baseman.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I mean, if they were going to sign one or two guys to be a DH, kind of replace Brendan Belt, I was hoping it was either JD Martinez or Justin Turner. Two guys that can put the bat on the ball, have decent power, have decent run production, and are smart enough to play to the scoreboard.
Right. There wasn't a lot of options left, right, for DH. I thought maybe they might make a trade.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think Brandon Belt's signed anywhere yet.
I don't think so either.
There's been rumors he's been rumors forever that he's gonna go to Texas. But yeah, I was the same. I was hoping for JD.
Yeah,
But JT isn't a bad backup, right? He's a professional hitter.
yep.
He's a career 288 hitter with I think he's a career 360, 350 on base percentage. He doesn't, I just don't know. I don't know it just seems ever since Otani, everything seems like a letdown.
It definitely is.
Like it's like once you're, aiming for the best and you're going to get the best and then you get, well, now we have Justin Turner. But it's going to be it's a good move. It's like falafel.
Yeah,
I'm just going to call him IKF now because everybody else
yeah,
does.
because we can't pronounce his name. We call him Falafel,
Falafel.
but it's
I'm used to saying
Falafa.
falafel.
Yeah,
Falafel. Anyways, IKF.
yeah.
He's their. I guess he's going to be the third baseman
Looks that way. Um,
unless
unless Chapman comes
Matt,
back.
Matt Chapman. Hello.
Yeah, Maybe.
And if you would ask
Knock
me
on his
probably
door. Have
last
we
year,
asked?
if you asked me like 6 months ago, I'd been no, I don't, no way, no chance I want him back. But now for the asking price that Bellinger signed for a 3-year, $80 million contract with opt-outs each year. If Chapman was to come back on a deal like that, he must be kicking himself in the rear right now.
Yep.
We're not accepting the Jays extension earlier in the summer. But it seems like, and we'll get to that after. I guess we'll get to that after.
Yeah. So
So
Justin Turner. So here's my thoughts on him. Right.
yeah,
He's got a lot of respect in the clubhouse. Bo
yeah,
talked about him even before the Jays signed him, saying that that's the type of person they need in there. And I think that goes to Bo. Bo's being a really good leader right now in the clubhouse, but he's still young, right? So it's hard to be a leader when you've got a lot of players that are 4, 5, 6 years older than you.
right.
But bringing somebody like Justin Turner, who has a ton of playoff experience,
Yeah.
I think really helps kind of solidify that clubhouse. And I think that's important on a young team like this. That I mean, we're saying young, they're not young anymore, but there's
Well,
still some maturity that needs to happen with some of the players.
yeah, and it showed. I think, and there's a video on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, about Justin Turner kind of in the batting cages with one of the, and it doesn't show who it was, but he's showing one of the other players, kind of a swing path, and how he likes to have the swing path go through. It's already, it's like having another coach. I know it's so cliche, but it is. It's like having another coach on the field, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess of all the signings, you're right. He's a good clubhouse guy, so I think that kind of edges out over JD.
Yeah.
He's more of JD had a one-off year. Maybe this is more of a safe signing.
And Justin Turner, even though he's 39, he does provide way more positional versatility
Exactly.
than JD Martinez. Because
Yeah.
he's played first, he's played second, he's played third.
Right. Like I don't know how he's not a Gold Glove third baseman anymore.
No.
I don't think he ever was, but he's not Matt Chapman or
Right.
even IKF, but
Right.
he can spell off once or twice a week.
Well, exactly. So if he starts at third base maybe like 10, 15 games a year, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Jays are kind of that's what we've seen it for the past however long Ross Atkins has been GM. Their MO is to have that DH is like a day off. There's primary DH. Like Belt was the primary DH last year, but he spelled off flat at first base some days, and
Yeah.
so they like to give players that day off, but DHing, right?
Yeah.
And especially now with Springer 34 years old, I believe, right now.
Yep.
He needs that. He'll need those couple days off in right field to DH once in a while.
Exactly.
And speaking of Springer, Schneider announced him. He's our leadoff hitter.
Okay.
So, really, I don't know.
So I'm guessing Springer, Bo, Vlad, and JT.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be our lineup, and then whoever else throw whatever else in the mix in the bottom.
Yeah.
But we're not a speed threat anymore. Nope. Not that we ever were, but we're definitely not a speed. Not with Kirk. JT. And then that's right. We should talk about the other signing the Jays made. Made 2 signings, 3, I guess, since we last talked. We signed Justin Turner. We signed Eduardo. Is it Eduardo Rodriguez?
Eduardo Escobar.
Rodriguez Escobar. It's all the same. Escobar, and who was a former third base for the Mets. 35-year-old. What's that?
And then we signed Vogelbach.
And then we signed another defensive lineman. Like our offensive lineman, I should say. We have probably if we wanted to start a football team, it's like our baseball team.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like our slow pitch team.
Let's stick Vogelbach in outfield.
Yeah. Oh my. Play right field.
Yeah.
But it's okay. KK will cover you for those fly balls that go to right.
Oh, and KK is another signing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there we go. It's starting to come back to us now.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's talk about KK. I love KK coming back.
Same.
I can almost guarantee he won't have the same year he had last year.
He won't. but he's a defensive wizard, right? So you know that when he's out there, his value comes from his defense, and if you can get a little bit of offense out of him, then that's the bonus. And that's what we said last year.
Yeah,
Really,
and
that's what we wanted last year. We got that, and we
we
got
got
that
that.
extra offensive bonus.
Yeah, so I really like KK coming back for sure. Vogelbach is a really I don't think Escobar is going anywhere. I think he's just a third base, and if there's an emergency situation, he gets called up to play third for a bit.
Yeah.
He's reliable, I guess, with some pop. But Vogelbach to me is a really interesting. I shouldn't say interesting, not weird. I want to say it's a very quizzical
Yeah.
signing.
Yeah.
We just talked about how we don't, and we just talked about how the fact that Jays don't like to have DHs as a strict DH, but Vogelbach's not playing anywhere but DH.
Exactly.
Is he going to make? Do you think he'll make the 26-man roster?
I really hope not. If he does, then something's gone really terribly wrong.
He's a left-handed batter that really only faced right-handed pitching
Yeah.
last year, and he can't hit a lefty anymore. Or I don't know if he ever could. He can't hit lefties. He only hits righties. He's he's like 300 pounds. He's I don't know. I
I
think
personally would prefer to have Spencer Horowitz as my left-handed DH.
well, if you're going to sign to me, this is maybe just a little bit of heartstrings, but I also think if you're going to sign a guy that's can play kind of first base and is a lefty, why didn't you sign Joey Votto?
Yeah.
Because my God, that video he made almost made me cry.
Yeah, I know, right? He's like pouting in the
There's
car
a
wash.
video if you haven't seen it, Joey Votto in a car wash, and his car's moving, and his face is just turned towards the screen. And what's he say? This isn't spring
He's like,
training.
this isn't spring training.
Spring training. And he looks like so sad. So I like why not have Joey Votto?
Exactly.
I'd rather sign Joey Votto to that minor league contract, and maybe if something happens, you have another first baseman. Anyway, I don't. Vogelbach, I don't see him making the team. You're right, unless something seriously wrong happens. Unless he's that guy they have as a 26th man on the team that comes in, pitch hits against a righty, left-handed power. I don't know.
I don't know.
But then I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a very
It's
an
me.
interesting.
It's just a guy that you're going to have sitting, occupying the bench and only be a situational hitter.
Yeah, and that just log jam. Well, I guess we'll talk about the log jam we have in the infield, right?
Yeah.
Right now we have, if you just kind of weed things out, you have Escobar, Falafel, or IKF, Justin Turner at third. You have Biggio, Santiago
Schneider.
Espinal, Schneider for second. Like, something's got to come out in the wash here.
Well, exactly. And we don't have a fourth outfielder.
Well, that was what I was going to say. We have all these log jam in infield, and they're like, well, we'll put Schneider in left field. Like, do you really want that?
Oh, and Ernie Clement is the other one.
Yeah, Ernie. Yeah, he's out of options.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm a big Ernie Clement fan.
See, same here.
I think he's got speed. He's good glove. Like I think I would rather have Clement, and is it just me, than Espinal.
Same. I think Espinal is kind of worn out his welcome. I think he's trade bait, to be honest.
So do I. I think we might see like a minor move, even if it's not for like a major player. I think Espinal will get traded to like San Francisco for like
And that's what I've
future
heard.
for future considerations or like a player to be named later or cash or whatever.
Or
I just don't like the idea. Again, we're talking about infielders and not we don't have that another outfielder.
yeah. And that's where they've looks like Davis Schneider or Babe Schneider, as he was last year, is he's working out in left field. He was playing left field today. And he made a nice diving catch. So
He did. So like, maybe he can. You go from
remember,
an all gold glove outfield to like David Schneider in left.
yeah. I kind of think back of when we had um in our glory 2015 years, where our left field was mostly comprised of Danny Valencia, who was a natural third baseman, Chris Colabello, was a
Yes.
DH first baseman
Yeah.
until we picked up Ben Revere in at the trade deadline.
Right. And that could be what we're kind of, if it turns out, I'm sure there's got to be a plan. I don't think Ross Atkins is like, hey, I want to have, six infielders and hope for the best.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of plan out there, I'm assuming. But so that's Ty, you talked about seeing Schneider today make a diving catch. The past two games, what are your thoughts? What are your first impressions of the Jays so far?
Well, I actually like the first game on Saturday against the Phillies was an offensive explosion on both sides.
10, 10 runs for the Phillies in the fifth. Yeah.
Um, Look, I gotta say, I was really impressed with Bichette. I texted you. I think he's going to challenge for a batting title this year.
Yep.
I was really happy with Danny Jansen. Um, I'm
I was
seeing that
hot.
he's practicing taking his hands out of the way so he doesn't break his hands on pitch and getting hit by pitch anymore.
Right.
And yeah,
Marshall,
I,
Marshall looked good.
Marshall looked great.
He's pulling the ball like I don't think he's not worried about hitting the other way. I think he's
Yeah,
hitting to his strength.
and Don Mattingly looks kind of weird with a beard.
Looks like Santa Claus.
It does.
Um, I find the pitching was a little concerning. I think Zach Pop looks great.
Yeah,
He I said this last year, I think about the same time. I think Zach Pop is a really good reliever. He's got that hard sinker. But Nate Pearson, let's take a minute to talk about Nate Pearson.
yeah. So he only got through two outs and allowed four runs. Walked one, struck out one, four hits. I mean, we talked about this, and they actually talked about it on the broadcast that he's trying to work on a splitter, and I did notice quite a few splitters.
Yeah. So
So
let's and it's really you're right, and it's hard to judge on these games. I was watching the games yesterday and today. I was like, yeah, these are games that are they're not hard to watch, but they're just like after the first two innings, it's like number 84 plays second
yeah,
base, guy you never heard of in A-ball. And
yeah,
unless you watch the Yes Network feed, then you get how great Soto is for the he's been out for four innings, but they're still praising Juan Soto,
yeah.
the future Hall of Famer who's 25 years old. But
Yeah, some of the pitchers looked okay. I think Dallas looked nice, looked good. He
look
was the one
great.
that started the game. He looked great,
Yeah.
two strikeouts. I think Pop looked good. Little looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, I mean, you had a bunch of like scrubs. Well, not scrubs. I hate to call them scrubs because I mean they're all players with hopes and dreams and stuff like that.
They're professionals, but they're
They're
compared to major
low,
league, they're scrubs,
yeah, low
right?
level kind of minor league players.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to really get a gauge of. And you're right, they're all working on something. Like you said, Pearson's working on that splitter. So yeah, he gave up the home run on a splitter that hung.
Yeah.
Like I could have hit that over the second base, maybe with my 75 mile an hour bat as a velo.
Yeah. But one thing that I noticed with Pearson is that his fastball runs really straight and flat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing, right? He's hittable. His fastball might be great. He might hit 100 miles an hour, but I mean, a lot of guys hit 100 miles an hour, so batters are used to it.
Well,
So
we
if
saw that
you're,
with Aaron Hicks
yeah,
last year, right?
yeah,
And it's funny you say that because I was waiting for that 100 mile an hour fastball and it was topping out at 96.
yeah, 96. I mean, they're still working things out.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. The good news today is there's some power. Kirk, the captain, hit a home run.
yeah,
Looked good.
that was pretty
Pretty
much
much the
it.
offense. Well, there's five other runs, but it was all by like scrubs.
Yeah,
Um, Ernie Clement playing shortstop today. Again, we were talking how we liked Ernie Clement. Um, Nothing really else. Spencer Horwitz started out in right field,
yeah.
which is interesting. I guess another guy they're trying out in the outfield, another infielder. Oh, no, it was Barger. Barger's playing.
Barger, yeah, Barger and Davis Schneider were playing in the outfield. Barger's, I mean, he's going to be a decent player. He hit well yesterday. or not. Yeah, yesterday, Saturday's game,
Yeah.
and
Barger or Horwitz?
both of them played yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Barger makes sense because he's got a cannon for an arm, so to put him in
yeah,
right field kind of makes sense. But
yeah. He played third yesterday. Scored a run, walked. Yeah, so I think so. Here's the thing, right? There's a lot of young outfield or infielders that are looking to break to the majors, and I think Espinal is blocking a lot of people. Orelvis Martinez, like he's a huge power threat. Had 28 home runs in the minors last year.
yeah,
He's the power bat that I think the Jays are hoping to kind of help them out this year, but there's no room for him. So they had him playing second. He could play third, he could play short, and he could play second. So there's a lot of young guys that really need to make their mark.
yeah. I could see a couple moves. I mean, I like Biggio, but I can see Biggio getting traded and maybe even. I think Espinal's time is just it's come and gone. I think it's you're right. He's kind of worn out his welcome and not worn out. Actually, he's not hasn't been a bad influence. He's what he
He is what
is.
he is. Yeah.
He's the
He's
guy's.
a okay defender at short, really good defender at second, okay descent defender at third, no
He's gonna
power.
he's gonna bat 250, 240. He's gonna hit 6 home runs, maybe 10.
Yeah. He doesn't walk a lot, so his on base percentage all comes from his hitting, which is streaky because sometimes he'll go on a tear and he'll be hitting 300 for, like a month, and then he'll dry up and he'll hit a buck 80.
I mean, he was an all-star.
He was an all-star, but what happened after he went to the all-star game?
It just tanked.
He just tanked. He fell off a cliff. He was hitting 300 by the time when he got voted into the all-star break, but he finished the season hitting 260 or something like that. So,
Right. Yeah, he's yeah, there'll be a few moves to be made, I'm sure, in the next couple weeks.
yep.
And then also with the Jays related, you think?
Injuries, yes.
Oh yeah, let's talk about injuries. Sure.
Yeah. So Kevin Biggio is dealing with shoulder tendonitis, left shoulder tendonitis, which is weird because he throws right-handed
Yeah.
and he bats lefty. So it's not like that's the one that's swinging the arm out. So
Yeah.
that's odd. And Ricky Tiedemann, our number one prospect,
Yep.
is dealing with a minor left calf and hamstring inflammation.
Yeah, they did an MRI and they noticed the inflammation there.
Yeah, which is good because apparently he would have been the type of guy to want to play through just to kind of prove himself.
Yeah.
So the team was really happy that he actually came forward and said, you know what, I'm dealing with a little bit of
Tightness
soreness
here.
and tenderness, and let's work on this because he was supposed to start on Saturday.
Yeah, he's got a long career ahead of him. I mean, he'll be a J eventually, probably sometime this year. So there's no reason to like push him.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing Alek Manoah on the mound.
me too.
He looks great.
He does. He's slimmed. Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, as
relatively.
slim as Alek Manoah can,
Yeah.
can be, but
I mean, he was, touted at what, like, well, he was listed at 280, but last year people were saying that he was about 40 pounds over his list weight.
yeah.
So I figure he looks like he's about 265 right now.
Yeah, about 250, 260, I think. Yeah, he
Yeah.
looks good. I'm just so his conditioning's got to be. I'm telling you, I'm gonna live and die by this statement. If the pitch clock killed him last year,
Yeah.
I think he was out of gas half the time pitching.
Yeah.
So being in shape is gonna be huge. I'm really looking forward to him. Looking forward to seeing Tiedemann pitch. Looking forward to seeing some regulars come out, and I want to see Vlad. There's a picture of Vlad without sleeves
Yeah.
in the batting cage. Man, he looks jacked.
Yeah. He looks pretty good.
Yeah. Hopefully it's back to 2021. Let's talk about what what Bichette said in the little press conference, I guess about 2 days ago at spring training. He said, we're not the favorites anymore.
Right.
We got to prove ourselves. The first time, this is kind of like the first time there's no expectations of them to be first place in the beginning. We're all looking at Baltimore and New York and maybe Tampa, but we'll do our prediction show in a couple weeks.
Yeah, right. We usually do that right before the season starts.
Season starts. So he's right, and that's where we said he's starting to be a leader. He's taken that leadership role. He's like, we haven't lived up to expectations.
And he's not wrong.
100%. And they've been surpassed by Baltimore. And we'll get to around the league or around the horn when we talk a little bit more about Baltimore. But yeah, it's time they have what 2 years left of that core, or really of Vlad and of
And
Bo together.
but
So
unless they extend somebody, but that's who knows.
I should also talk about Vladdy had his arbitration hearing.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there for the arbitration hearing,
Yeah.
and from all accounts, I mean, and this is the spin the Jays put on it, is nothing was negatively said about Vlad, but I'm like, how can it not? How
Right.
could you shouldn't take it personally, it's a business. Well, how do you not take it personally?
So
If
I
I was,
think Ross Atkins said that they weren't there either. So Ross Atkins wasn't at the meeting. It was all lawyers. And
right,
usually it's the lawyers that kind of argue the cases.
yeah,
But when they found out that Vlad was going to be there, they were ensuring that their lawyers were not going to take the personal approach.
right,
It was all going to be based on statistics, numbers, and performance.
right,
So, because I think a lot of people are going to say like, well, his conditioning's always in question, right?
for sure. And his defense faltered last year.
Yeah.
He made some really bad, like some dumb base running mistakes,
Yeah.
especially in the playoffs.
And that's the other thing, right? Is it might just be like, okay, so they might talk about those things, right? Like he's made some errors and mistakes, lapse in judgment might be the way that they would use it.
Yeah,
And he'd probably agree with that. Yeah, I made some lapse in judgments. I mean, I've done these things. He did deal with an injury to his knee and wrist last year, which probably affected his abilities.
almost, yeah, for sure. But it's got to
So
be a
yeah,
hard. It's got to be a tough. Like, I mean, I've never had to go through it. My pay and I'm sure in your pay at work,
yeah.
we don't go to an arbitration hearing and they argue about what we should get paid.
Actually, I've been involved in those. As,
Okay, well there
as
you go.
as a
So
union rep, I've seen those, and yeah, it is rough because my employer has this lawyer that just goes in there and just rips everybody apart.
and how do you not take that personally, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but for a million was I think the Jays offered 18.4 and Vladdy wanted 19.9 or something to that
Yeah, there's
effect.
almost yeah, there was about 2 million difference,
Million
almost two
five or
million.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time like for this multi-million dollar ball club.
Yeah.
Why are you going to arbitration with your like the one of the leaders of your
Yeah, he's the face of the franchise.
yeah he's
Like
like
he's the guy you paste on the outside of the stadium.
he's on the cover of MLB The Show 24.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
mean,
should have just pulled that out at the arbitration. Hello.
just gonna put this on the desk right now. Yeah, I don't know. For
That
me,
was his
it's
closing argument.
just puts it down. I don't know. I think that was a little odd to go to arbitration with him over 1.5 million, but
And I think that might be the way that the Jays do it is they just used analytics. I think they use a formula
they
to
do.
figure out their arbitration. And that's what that way they keep the personal out. Like, let's take a look at the numbers. Let's take a look at,
Yeah, and Bo's gone on record before to say he does not like how they calculate
yeah,
his performance or their performance. So you can go by numbers all you want, but eventually, sometimes you have to go. You have to be a people person. Like you have to people manage, and I don't know.
right.
I mean, I have a hard time I would have a hard time justifying the fact you're gonna spend what $700 million on a player,
Yeah,
and then now you're gonna argue over 1.5 million.
yeah.
Well, little did I know that, mind you, that 700 million was all deferred money, but whatever. That's I'm still bitter. Anything else, Jays wise? I guess I'll ask you
No, I
again.
think that kind of covers the Jays section of things.
So let's go around the league and I really around the horn, I guess we call it.
Yeah.
One of the today big news today we should talk about is Cody Bellinger signed with the Cubs yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday evening.
3 years, $80 million.
Yeah, so it's 30 for the first year with an opt-out, 30 for the second year with an opt-out, and 20 for the third year.
So if we can rest assured that he has the same year he had this year, he's going to opt out.
Yeah, and go for the big contract that he was looking for.
Um, he's part of the Boris, before we get into the why the Jays should have signed him. He's part of the Boris clientele that hasn't been signed yet. Well, I guess he's the first one. So you have um, Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman,
Blake Snell.
Blake Snell. Who am I missing here?
Is Jordan Montgomery one of them?
Jordan Montgomery is another one.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if he's
But there's
and JD
there's a
Martinez.
few-
JD
yeah,
Martinez is a Boris client. So do you think that like Boris has kind of run the show? I have two thoughts on this. Look, so I'll ask you the question before I jump in. Do you think this is the Boris era is kind of over?
Well, his tactics have failed this offseason, I think.
And here's so my take is that he didn't have the horses in the stalls to like to do what he wanted to do, right?
Right.
Cody, they all had question marks, right? It's not like he has like next year Juan Soto. There's gonna be a bidding war for Juan Soto.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna last till mid-February. He'll be gone sometime in December if they don't change the rules. But anyways, he's got so you have Bellinger who yes was an all-star in Los Angeles, but then had 2 down years where he couldn't bat over 200 with no power, hurt his shoulder. Had one good year last year, then was asking for something. The rumor was like 6 years at over 200 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of risk in that.
It is.
Then you look at and I'm glad the Jays didn't jump on that. That's because they could have easily pivoted with fan uproar over Ohtani and signed Bellinger. And could you imagine he bats 210 with 10 home runs this year?
Yeah.
Then you have Blake Snell. Yeah, Cy Young, but man, he walks a lot of people.
He walks a lot of people. He's got an injury history.
Yeah.
So there's risk there. I mean, there's risk with any player, but I mean, when a person has a history of injuries, that tends to scare people off, right?
Then you have Matt Chapman, who we've watched for the past 3 years.
So here's my thoughts on Chapman, right? So Bellinger's got a prove yourself kind of contract.
Yeah.
Right. So he's got a lot of opt-outs, so he can play the 1 year at 30 mil and then decide I'm going back on the market because I just, hit 40 bombs, hit 300. I'm back to my MVP kind of caliber play. So I want my big contract. Chapman, we know who he is. He's been this player for 5 years now.
He is what he is.
He is what he is.
He's a low 200 hitter. He'll hit you maybe 20 home runs.
20, 30 bombs.
And Gold Glove caliber defense.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
That's what he is. So what do you want to pay for that?
That's it, right? And I think obviously the asking price is way too much. Yep. And he's 31 right now? 30?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a 6-year contract. I don't think he'll get a 6-year contract. Obviously, he didn't get a 6-year contract. So, I mean, I could see Matt Chapman signing the same kind of deal that Bellinger got.
Yep.
A 3-year or a 2-year with opt-outs. If for some reason, but even if Chapman has a 1 year and has a really good year, like say the let's just for fun say the Jays sign him for a 3-year contract at, I don't know, same kind of thing, $60 million or something, $20 million a year. He has one good year. That's one good year.
Yeah.
His history kind of, his history shows that he's not that hitter.
Yeah.
I really think he's kicking himself for not accepting the Jays extension offer in the offseason where was it 5 years at 110 million or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have another, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just looking at Chapman's his stats over the last, so 2020 hit 232, 210 in 2021, 229 with the Jays, 240 last year. Home run totals were 10, 27, 27, and 17.
I mean, what do you want to pay for that?
Exactly. In 2019, well, then we're looking at something that's completely different, but he's not that hitter. He hit 249 with 36 home runs, and then the year before that, 278 with 24 home runs, where he was top 10 MVP voting for 2 years in a row.
Well, I wonder if that's like had to do with his, he had a hip injury in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
And he's last year went back up to 240, so maybe he's starting to become the hitter again, but maybe. I mean, it's a lot
Maybe.
again.
That's a lot of maybe.
It's a lot of maybe, right?
And he's on the wrong side of 30.
I would, if I was the Jays, I would. I'm not a multimillionaire, but I'll spend their money. I'll give them a 2-year contract at 40 million.
Yeah.
Just to see what you get. Still has a little bit of, and if you would have asked me 6 months ago if I wanted to sign Matt Chapman, hell no. But the way the Jays look now, I think it wouldn't hurt. Then you have JD Martinez, another Boris client.
Yeah.
Great year last year in Los Angeles, but who doesn't have good years in Los Angeles? they have that like Tampa touch, right? Like everything turns to gold when someone plays there.
And it also helps that you've got all these all-star hitters kind of surrounding you where do you pitch a guy like that?
Right. Like, that's a good point. So he's not getting what he thought. I mean, it's just, so yeah, I don't think Boris had the clients to like, he's still going to hold the cards next year when he has his prize being Juan Soto, but I don't think players are going to be as quick to jump on the Scott Boras client list as they used to be, because apparently owners are becoming a little bit more they're getting smarter to his ploys, I guess. I think.
Yeah, and what happened with the whole Ohtani debacle is it was Bob Nightingale that wrote an article that basically explained how these rumors kind of come out, and it's typically from the players' side to try to push owners to do things.
Yeah.
And I think we're not hearing a lot from the Boris side, probably because there's not much happening.
Right. And I think they'll end up taking what they can get at this point. Because of this whole free agency lasting until like mid-February now, there was talk. They talked about Rob Manfred during his little, I guess I don't know, his little press conference he had at the start of the spring training that they're looking at, and I'm sure this will have to be collectively bargained, having a free agency window,
right?
Where it'd be like till December 31st when you want to sign a free agent, it has to be up until December 31st. I don't know what happens after that.
Right. Because that sucks for anybody who doesn't get picked. That's like being in gym class.
Exactly, right?
It's like, hello, I'm still available.
You would be though. Like someone would. It would. I think it would make things a lot more interesting because this gets drawn out. But then they have like that 31st deadline. I'm sure someone would offer Votto a minor league contract at some point.
Yeah.
Same thing, and everyone would have something. But anyways, Rob Manfred also went on to talk about the hottest topic, except for free agents, the jerseys and pants. So for those who are listening to this podcast are obviously baseball fans, so I'm sure you're already aware. But for those who aren't, Fanatics the company Fanatics, they have the contract.
So Nike has the contract.
Nike has a contract. Yeah,
they've subcontracted Fanatics to produce the jerseys and the pants and everything.
So let's talk about the jerseys before we get to the pants. So the jerseys, although look similar to last year, they look, and players have said that they look cheap.
They do.
There's even players that have actually posted on social media and tagged Fanatics And like, what is this? Like, the numbering's off. Like, it's not even lined up correctly.
Yeah.
And then Fanatics is like, oh, it seems
We
we
dropped
made
the
an
ball.
error. What's that?
We dropped the ball on this
We got the
one.
ball now. Why don't you send it back? And like, not knowing that it's an actual MLB player in his locker room taking a picture of his own jersey. Yeah, and the names themselves. I guess if you look at the names now, they're lower
And
on the
small.
back, and they're small. So they're smaller, the smaller font.
And they're arched.
Because of the lower now on
Yeah.
the back, you can't fit as many letters. So like Verlander, a name like like last name Verlander,
Yeah.
which is only Verland, 7 letters, is arched around his back.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous.
It does, because it used to go from shoulder blade to shoulder blade, but now it's closer to the armpits.
Yeah.
So everybody's jersey looks like Jared Saltalamacchia.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And it looks like a rainbow, like a rainbow name on everybody's jersey.
Yeah.
Not to mention the patches. So there's the first is the advertising patch on the one arm.
Yeah.
And the other arm has the actual logo, the team logo on it. So last year when Nike had the contract, or still has it, when Nike was producing the jerseys, it was sewn on. Right? It was actually these ones look like they're iron-on patches.
It does. It really does. And so from what I heard, the Nike jerseys that they were using for the last 2 years were rebranded Majestic jerseys.
Okay.
So there was a surplus of Majestic stuff that was already out, and they just sewed on the Nike logo, and then we're sending those out. So essentially anything we got up until last year were still kind of like old stock Majestic branded as Nike jerseys.
Okay.
And the sleeve cuffs, so you'll notice the sleeve cuffs look kind of wrinkly now, kind of like the ones that we get if you're just going. I'm not going to say where we get ours.
Oh, this has already been talked about online.
Yeah.
Like a player actually said these are DH gate jerseys look better than this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's because it just looks cheap. So normally the cuff is sewn over the end of the sleeve, but now it's sewn onto the end of it. So it's just the cuff material, which kind of wrinkles. It's not the same fabric as the jersey. So once you wash them, they shrink different sizes, and it looks terrible.
And then there's I think it was the Dodgers or it was the Reds. I think it was the Dodgers that before, like the way like the buttons go up the middle of the jersey,
between letters.
Between the letters, right? So it looks more. Now these ones are like right in the middle of the letter.
They cut the letter in half.
Like we ordered. We're not going to say. I guess we'll. We ordered jerseys for all 8 listeners. We ordered these jerseys from DH Gate in China for our ball team. They look great. 100% better.
Yeah.
Than the Major League ball player jerseys now.
Well, here's one thing. I saw an old Blue Jays jersey, and I saw the new one. The old one, the J head, like the Blue Jay head, was embroidered. So you could see the threads of the stitching kind of creating the logo.
Right.
The new one, it's fabric cut out in the shape of the Jays head logo, and it's the outside border that's kind of embroidered and sewed into the jersey. So yeah, it looks like, so when you go to the fan shops, you can buy the on-field authentic jerseys,
like $400,
which are like $300 and something dollars.
Yeah.
And then you can get the replicas, which are about $120.
Yeah.
And the replicas have that sewn on patch, whereas the authentics have the embroidered logo. Well, now
or DH Gate.
Or DH Gate. But now they all have that sewn on patch, which looks cheap for a $400 jersey.
They look awful. And so let's get on. Let's go on to the fans.
So that's the thing, right? So everybody was talking about the jerseys because the fans were able to buy these jerseys before the players really kind of got to see them. So the fans were like, hey, look at this. This is crappy. Well, now the fans are coming out with their pants.
Even players are saying they look like crap.
Yeah. And now they come out and they get their new pants. And this got nuts.
And So for those who aren't watching, I've used that in air quotes.
I used air quotes for nuts. Um,
Nuts. Yeah.
yeah, so it started off where a player had his jersey tucked, and at the bottom of the jersey, there's always that authentic kind of patch,
So usually authentic, and then size,
size,
whatever.
and right. And you
Yeah.
could see it through the pants. So at his upper thigh, where the shirt was tucked into his pants, you could see that patch. So that's how sheer the material is for those
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah.
Uh,
And, and not to mention, you can see lots of
cups.
other things.
You can see jock straps in back.
And for those who aren't wearing jock straps, you can see full on. You could, I'll leave it to your imagination.
Let's just say the Philly. I saw a meme with the Phillies. I can't remember his Twitter handle, but he had he had a clip from last year's playoffs with Bryce Harper hitting a home run, and he had put like this big long black
Censor.
rectangle over his jungle
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. It is. It's awful. Like,
Yeah,
but then you listen to Rob Manfred, our commissioner of baseball, and he's like, "Oh no,
are
these
the
are all
same.
tested out. These are actually they're not.
This-
They may be a little see through, but they're
the same material.
performance. The
Yeah,
same material
it's
as that, but they're
like
performance. They're made for performance, and I think he's backpedaling.
yeah,
I can see a well, and Fanatics hasn't tweeted anything since the 14th of February.
yeah.
Um, and what did I sent you a tweet about Under
Underarm.
Armour's Under
We
Armour
got you
sent like
covered.
got you covered. And it's just a picture of their pants. Um, I can see Major League Baseball backpedaling pretty hard on this one and getting, I don't know, someone's making some phone calls to Fanatics or Nike now, and
Well,
this won't.
apparently there's a shortage of pants.
Oh, really?
So some teams are still using old pants from last year. So those players are really happy
Yeah,
because at
absolutely.
least their junk is covered.
Yeah.
Um, but they're saying that they're being given old used pants from previous seasons. They have less choice in terms of fit.
Customization. Yeah.
So you have players like, for example, Bo Bichette, I'll use an example.
Sure.
He likes to wear his pants on the tighter side and very short, like actually cut above the knee.
You're not using Robbie Ray?
Well, well, Robbie Ray is an entire different discussion, but that's the way he likes them. But now
Yeah.
apparently you can only choose the length and the size, and there's only very specific sizes. So you can't say, well, I'd like the thigh to be brought in to be a little bit tighter,
Yeah.
or in Robbie Ray's instance, I'd like to have my tight buns show it off. So
I'd like my pants painted on. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. The customization's not there anymore.
yeah,
So I know as much as Rob Manfred's trying to say these were this won't I don't think this will be you won't see this you won't see these uniforms in regular season.
yeah.
I can almost guarantee it. At least I hope so. Speaking of Rob Manfred, he announced he's going to step down as commissioner in 2029.
Thanks for the 5-year lead up.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. So you know what? To be fair to Rob Manfred, I think he's done some good things. The pitch clock, he sped things up, and he's done some good things for baseball. But
Yeah.
um, anyway, what else we got around the league? I got a whole series of things to talk about. Well, let's talk about Tim Anderson. Signed a 1-year deal with the Marlins for $5 million.
That's a cheap pickup by the Marlins. I mean, he could turn back into the Tim Anderson that we knew before.
As long as it doesn't try to throw haymakers.
Well, he'll get put in his place if he faces J-Ram again.
Liam Hendricks came to an agreement, a two-year, $10 million contract with the Red Sox. I thought that would have been a nice Blue Jays signing, but
yeah,
kind of a low risk. Two-hit Witt.
We saw him yesterday with the Phillies.
Yeah, a 1-year, $8 million contract. Good for Witt.
Good for Witt.
I liked him in Toronto. I think his time had come and gone. I think it was time to let him go, but
yeah,
I'm glad to see cut on somewhere else.
Well, that just goes to show we had we have that player in so many different players, that type of player in so many different
Oh, different
players.
players, yeah. But it's funny that we keep trying to mold players into that same super utility.
Yeah,
Uh, Kansas City Royals announced their plans for their new downtown ballpark. Have you seen this?
I have.
It's
Looks nice.
gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's an open air stadium. We'll talk about this in a second. It's got they kept the waterfalls in center field.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but personally, I if I was Major League Baseball, I would have to insist that if every new stadium's got kind of has a dome.
Yeah.
Either, the ones they have like in Arizona or the ones like the open air, you can still be open air, but a dome to cover it for rain. I mean, it just stops any rain delays, right? Or rain outs or
Yeah.
it's my personal thoughts.
So apparently the White Sox are looking at a new stadium as well. I saw drawings for them.
Really, eh?
Yeah. Apparently they're looking at moving to closer to the lake
Yep.
near the downtown loop. So I've been to Chicago. So
Yeah,
so
me too.
the way the train kind of rolls, there's like a loop that goes around downtown.
Yeah.
And they're looking at moving their stadium there, which would be a much safer neighborhood than the South Side.
Yeah. The South Side isn't somewhere you want to be after dark.
No, and from everybody, even this is what the people in Chicago have told me. So
Yeah.
like I told them, like I love Chicago. I'm actually thinking of coming back for a White Sox game.
Right.
And they said, well, if you go to a White Sox game and it's not an afternoon game, you
Yeah.
go to the game and then you get the hell out of there.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
I've been told the same thing. Yeah, I'd love to go back to Chicago. And it's funny that you say that. I'm sure that was built just after Baltimore's Camden Yards was built
Yep.
because
So
it's kind of that retro looking, but that one never really caught on.
no,
It's not a very nice, not a very attractive stadium.
no. They tried to
It
keep some of the little features they had in the old Comiskey.
just didn't
Just
translate.
no.
Jorge Soler signed with the San Francisco Giants, 3-year, $42 million contract. He was rumored to go to Toronto too.
Yeah.
He's sad.
Not really.
They really care.
Not
If you listen to that podcast at the Letters, Ben Nicholson Smith really doesn't like Jorge Soler. He was very happy that the Giants got him, not Toronto. He's a liability in the field. Got a lot of power though. I don't know.
yep.
Astros re-signed Jose Altuve to a 5-year, $125 million extension.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah, that's more than I'd pay for Jose Altuve, I think, for
Yeah,
this
he's
longer.
in the twilight of his career now. So
Bobby Wood Jr., this is what we were talking about earlier before the podcast. Bobby Wood Jr. and the Kansas City Royals are in agreement with an 11-year, $288.7 million contract extension.
that's a huge contract.
There are opt-outs in that
Yeah.
one. They got for 7 years. I think there's an opt-out.
Yeah.
But we were kind of hoping, Bo Bichette would sign something.
Similar.
It won't be similar because Bo's getting more than 288 million.
Yeah.
But in looking back, you kind of wish the Jays had done something pretty similar with Bo.
Yeah. And I mean, Bobby Wood Jr. is a great shortstop, solid defense,
Fast,
fast.
power.
He's the guy to do it with. I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of like Wander Franco. As long as he doesn't go after minors, we're good to go.
Where is Wander Franco? Has he been arrested yet, or is he still wanted?
Well, I think he's not wanted. That he turned himself in, and
Oh, did he?
yeah,
Wow, that's a crazy story in itself. One day we'll cover that one.
yeah,
Uh, the Baltimore Orioles. So they were sold. Before I get to this, yeah, they were John P. Angelos had agreed to sell the Baltimore Orioles, and they're still going through this deal. I think it hasn't been finalized yet.
yeah. Because there's a TV rights thing that they're still fighting over.
Yeah, so a private equity billionaire, David Rubenstein and Michael Arrighetti, valuing the franchise at $1.725 billion. And I knew as soon as they made that deal, it was trouble for the Jays
Yep.
because the MO of the Angelos family, and it's always been this way, they don't spend money.
You don't send money. And then the moment they sold, who do they trade for?
They got Corbin Burns was acquired by the Orioles, exchanged for left-handed pitcher DL Hall and shortstop Joey Ortiz.
Yeah.
What a great signing. It's for
Yeah,
1 year though.
it's terrifying because this, I mean, look at what they did last year. And they didn't really have the pitching last year.
They had Jason Rodriguez, I think his name is, and there's another one. It's Grayson Rodriguez,
Yeah.
and the other one he's hurt.
Felix Bautista.
No,
Oh,
he's hurt as well.
yeah.
Another starting pitcher though.
Oh, uh, no, shoot, his name escapes me. But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he had a second. Let me uh, let me look this
Radich,
up. Yeah,
Bradich or Radich,
Radich.
Radich. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a oblique. No, not oblique. Um, Gunnar Henderson's got an oblique strain, but this he's got inflammation in his elbow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't look. He's had his own plasma injections, I guess, in his elbow, and he's feeling better. But that's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't
That's
know.
kind of terrifying if
It's a
you're
red
starting.
flag. Yeah, they also won a lot of. The Orioles won a lot of one-run games last year.
Yeah.
Mind you, it helps when you have that kind of bullpen. Those two guys at the back end, but they're looking still pretty strong. It is terrifying though for the Jays.
Yeah.
Because now they're all their young guys are just starting to come up now.
Yeah. So Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson.
Now they have they have Holiday.
Jackson Holiday. That's right.
Jackson Holiday's coming
gonna
up.
be a shortstop. You got Mountcastle, who's always been a terror for the Jays. Santander in the outfield with Cedric Mullins, and
you got Ryan O'Hearn playing first. Yeah, it's gonna be a hard club to beat. Now Corbin Burns adds to that.
Yeah.
You know what? You got to beat him.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they're going to be a nightmare for the Jays in the next 7 years,
Yeah.
5 years. So while we were in hiatus, there's the election to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And Todd Helton was elected from his 6th year on the ballot.
Yeah.
You agree with that one?
I do.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, he was a good ball player. I mean, what held him back, I think, was the fact that he played in Colorado. But when you look at his stats, he was hitting just as well on the road as he was in Colorado. So he's no slouch.
You're right. You're exactly right. His stats are pretty comparable from road and away. And it's sad that you got to he played in Colorado. Let's not. I mean, he had 2,519 career hits, 369 home runs. He had a career batting average of 316.
Yeah.
A career on base of 414. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He came close to batting 400 when in 2000 he batted 372. Great, overall, just a great hitter.
Yeah.
I have no problems with that one at all. Joe Mauer was elected first ballot Hall of Famer. And Adrian Beltre.
I totally agree with Adrian Beltre.
You don't agree with Joe Mauer?
You know what? Here's the thing. People expect catchers to be like they were back in the day when they're basically catching every single day. He wasn't a bad catcher. He was a good defensive catcher, good offensive catcher. He was an MVP. He is what he is. He had a short-ish career.
He was injured, right? Because
he was injured, but
two concussions.
At the end of the day, I think he deserves to be in there. We can't keep comparing today's players to the past.
We had a big discussion about this on our baseball group chat.
Yeah.
Some people didn't agree with Joe Mauer being in the Hall of Fame. He had a career of 2,123 hits. He played for 14 years?
Yeah.
As a catcher, mostly as a catcher. Well, I guess half and half. He ended up playing first base, but I mean, we look at his stats. Um, batted 308, 294, 347, 328, three. He batted 365 in 2008.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
He struck out 100 times once. That was in 2015. I mean, not a lot of power. Most home runs he ever hit in a season was 28. That was in 2009. But yeah, it's a demand. And then I don't think people give enough credit to catchers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing the outfield or any other position except pitcher, you're really just worrying about, if the ball's hit to you,
Yeah.
certain thing, right? Like if you're the outfield and you hit the cutoff man or when to throw to a base or, but really that's it. And yeah, now you have a fielding chart you look at the whole time, like, you don't have to memorize anybody's stats. You just look at your chart and okay, I have to shade the guy to left or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Catchers have to know every single pitcher on their staff, what they throw,
It hit the face with foul tips, hitting the hand.
who's batting, what their
Yeah.
cold zones are, hot zones are, what pitch is working for the pitcher. Like,
Yeah.
and then, oh yeah, by the way, now you have to go hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're right. It's a very demanding physical position to play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you're right. You're bent down. You're squatted for 9 innings. You're getting foul balls. Oh, ask Danny Jansen, right?
Yeah.
Getting foul balls off your hands, off your hip, off your head. You're running down the first baseline when there's nobody on first with nobody out. I mean, it's a tough position to play. So I think anybody, I don't know how many Hall of Famers are catchers but I don't think there's a lot.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying I want to dilute the Hall of Fame by any stretch, but I think we have to stop comparing people to the old days because I mean our Stratomatic League we kind of had a discussion and they were just it just seems like not realistic. I mean, you got pitchers back in the day that were throwing like 350 innings. We're not going to see that anymore.
Well,
But
right. And that's
does that mean that Clayton Kershaw doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame?
Hall of
Yeah, he
Fame.
does.
You're not gonna get 3,000 strikeouts anymore. You're
Yeah.
not gonna you're most likely never gonna see a 300 win pitcher anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're lucky we get 200 now, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the way the game's played anymore.
Right.
I totally agree. Before, I would say before the mid 2000s or maybe even 2010s, it was very simple to get in the Hall of Fame as a hitter.
Yeah.
You got 3,000 hits or you got 500 home runs. That was it. Like that was the line, right? If you
Yeah.
didn't get look at Fred McGriff before he got elected.
Yeah.
He had 493 home runs. And he wasn't elected to the Hall of Fame because he was basically 7 home runs short of 500.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even Carlos Delgado. I think Carlos Delgado was completely robbed
Yep.
of being in the Hall of Fame. Like I would argue Carlos Delgado is just as good as Todd Helton. But I mean, if you look at
I made the argument for Adrian Beltre because I couldn't believe somebody in our Stratomatic League didn't think he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
that's ridiculous.
And I just looked at his stats and I'm like, well, hold on a second. He's number 1 in RBIs, number 2 in hits, number 3 in home runs, 4 silver sluggers, 5 gold gloves, 2 platinum gloves. How does he not belong in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think he played since he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah.
If you look at the batting averages for the catchers, so stats for Hall of Fame catchers, if you don't include Josh Gibson, because Josh Gibson never played Major League Baseball, he played in the Negro Leagues,
Right.
and stat keeping in those leagues are kind of all over the place. But if you look at Joe Mauer's overall career average for all the Hall of Famers, he's probably right in the middle of the pack. You have Johnny Bench at 267, Yogi Berra at 285. Who's even close to there? Mickey Cochran, 320. Different era again.
Yeah.
Mike Piazza batted 308.
Yeah.
So Mauer batting 306. Pudge Rodriguez at 296.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I 100% think you can't. I think you got to go player by player. I think this whole like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
1,000 hits, 500 home runs thing is ridiculous. Todd
Because
Hell's
a
not
lot of
getting
people
in.
were saying that like Roy Halladay didn't deserve to be in there, and his career was cut short by injuries as well. But if you look at his peak seasons,
Well, he
he
also
was,
played. He's playing in a new era, right? Like
yeah,
mind you, he played kind of old school.
yep. He was
I
the, I'm going to go out there for 9 innings.
Yeah, you're not taking me out.
Yeah.
Um, I'd really like to know what I'd love to know what Roy Halladay's first inning was, though. He was notorious for giving up like a run or two runs in the first inning and then shutting it down for the next seven.
Yeah.
But he'd get rocked in the first inning sometimes. What was I gonna say? Forget it. It's gone. That must have been a lie. But yeah, this cookie cutter. That's what I kind of remember now because Dave Steve. Let's look at Dave Steve.
Right.
Dave Steve played on some crappy teams.
Yep.
Played on some great teams, but played on some crappy teams for the first early part of his career. And and then when he got elected to the Hall, when he was eligible for the Hall of Fame, that was they're going back on. If you didn't have 300 wins, you weren't getting in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
right? Wins is such a, and then we've come to realize we've become smarter as baseball fans, and we've realized that wins are a terrible stat for to judge a pitcher on.
Well, yeah, Drew Hutchison's a perfect example of that.
Why is that?
Remember that Drew Hutchison, like that one year where he had like 14 wins, but his ERA was like 5.65.
Well, that's it, right? So yeah, if you look, I'm sure if you look at Dave Steve's stats, he's
Yep.
comparable to every Hall of Famer other than wins.
Yep.
I'm looking at Drew Hutchinson's stats.
That one year, I think it was when the Jays were in
He
their
was
playoff mode,
he was 13-5.
13-5,
And he had a 13-5. He had a 5.57 ERA.
5.57.
He pitched 150 innings, gave up 179 hits.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So yeah, it was a perfect example, right?
Yeah. So yeah, so you have, yeah, Dave Steve, man, it's frustrating to see this because he's got 176 wins, 137, 3.44 career
ERA.
ERA. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad.
I
And
mean, he
how
did have
many
like,
almost no hitters?
oh my God, those were frustrating to watch. But like, you look at the innings pitched, like you'll never see this again.
Yeah.
1982, 288 third innings pitched.
And that was on a crappy team.
Yeah, 1982, where he was 17-14
Yeah.
with a 3.25 ERA, 19 complete games.
19 complete games.
19 complete games. We're lucky we get a starter to start 19 games anymore.
Yeah. 5 of them were shutouts.
Yeah, now I'm looking at his stats overall. I don't know, maybe he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's awfully close.
Yeah.
Jack Morris is a Hall of Famer, and if Jack Morris got in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure because of his win total.
Yeah.
Because Jack Morris, well, he had some good seasons in what mid 80s, I guess, for the Detroit Tigers. But
The Tigers and then Minnesota.
yeah, so if you look at Jack Morris, had 254 wins. He's in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, you look at his ERA. Nothing. Dave Steve I would argue Dave Steve had a better career than Jack Morris did.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hall of Fame, interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
I kind of wish they'd go back and look over, kind of reevaluate. I know they do have that like it used to be called the Veterans Committee. Now it's something else.
Yeah.
But they used to have they used to be able to go back and the guys that didn't make the cut kind of got. I think it has to be a certain percentage they received a vote, and then they could be eligible for the vote the veterans. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's it for our roundup.
Yeah, yeah, and blue chips. Well, I can't really look because the Blue Jays website hasn't updated their prospect list. It says coming soon.
Gear up for it. Well, I guess we're all kind of watching our blue chips play right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun couple weeks. My parents are going to be at the game tomorrow.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Kikuchi's starting.
Nice.
So
Nice. I'm heading to Florida in less than a week. So I think I'm catching a Twins game.
nice.
Yeah. So Matt will be jealous.
Yeah.
But anyways, anything else, Ivan?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. Our first episode of season 4. I can't believe again it's 4 seasons of this.
4 seasons.
Wow, we're rocking it. We're gonna have some. We'll be more up to date in the social media. I'll post some more stuff on from fans in the stands. I'll get a little more interactive. But as for now, that's it for me. I'm Mickey. I'm along with my buddy Ivan.
Have a good week, everybody.
Take care, guys.